All right, let's talk Home Affairs now because, you know, the reality is that if you don't have an ID document, you cannot cast your vote. There's been a lot of talk of so many ID documents that are still waiting to be collected at different stations around the country. So let's speak to Tommy Makhode. He, of course, is the DG in the Department of Home Affairs. Tommy, always good to see you. Welcome to this special edition, broadcasting live from the IEC.
Good morning, Leanne, and good morning to you, John, and the viewers on both radio and television.
Yeah, it is good to see radio and television coming together as one with all of this information, John. I mean, it's so important.
It is, and especially this because the challenge with this is, and we're going to find out now, maybe just ask the question, really. Leanne was mentioning how many ID documents are still to be collected. I know you've been running a campaign saying hundreds of thousands of IDs need to be collected. What is the current state, and can people collect them today?
So just before the voter weekend registration for the 18th and 19th of October, they were sitting at around 400,000.
Sure.
And during that particular voter registration weekend, there were about 30,000 that were collected from our 412 offices across the country. Since then, we have been opening our offices, we've been operating extended hours, and for just a short period of time, including this weekend in particular, we've had another, probably another 30,000 collected. So we're sitting at around 300 and probably 30 that's not collected.
Yeah. I mean, having a lot of these ID documents, can you believe it? Of all the words in the world I can think of, it slipped my mind of what an ID document is. I mean, because that is vital to cast these elections. I mean, if you go to any voting station and you don't have an ID, you are not able to vote.
Absolutely, Leanne and John. So we've decided to ensure that people that are intending to go and vote have enabling documents. And this can be in the form of an application for your smart ID card. We're open for that. We're also open for you to come and collect. If you probably applied and forgot, we have recent SMSs to members of the public that would have applied and have not been coming to collect. The second thing that we're also offering is what we refer to as a temporary identity certificate in case you have lost your document. However, I need to warn, Leanne, if you have a smart ID card and you still have your green barcoded ID, and you have lost your smart ID card, you cannot therefore use your green barcoded ID, because as soon as you apply for your smart ID card, the other one is therefore nullified. So there are three requirements that the IEC will ask you for. Either it's your smart card, or your green barcoded ID, or your temporary identity certificate.
I want to talk time. Obviously, it takes a while go through Home Affairs and to get these temporary documents. If somebody is going to a Home Affairs office, will they still have time to get it and then be able to go and vote?
Yes, absolutely. We open, as you have said in your introduction much earlier, IEC voting stations are opening at 7 o'clock. So we open from 7 o'clock in the morning until 2100 in the evening. Obviously, you can't go 5 to 9 o'clock in the evening and expect still to find an IEC voting station still open. So we are aligned to the IEC operating hours.
Yeah. How long does it take to get a temporary ID, though? I mean, say I decide to wake up this morning and say, well, all right, don't have an ID, it's this, that, and the next, something's happened, but I really do want to vote. Will you get it in time to vote today?
Definitely, you will be able to get it in time. Yesterday, I visited a number of our offices. I was in Bronkhorstspruit. I mean, someone probably took less than 15 minutes in the queue. With the extended hours that we've been operating on, it's very interesting. There have been very few people coming through to the offices. In fact, even to apply for passports, which is contrary to what we normally see during your normal other days.
Is there extra costs to be able to get these things through? Is it just the regular costs? How does it work?
It's a regular cost. For example, for your application for your smart ID card, remember the first issue, John, it's free. And then if you have lost, it's 140. And then for the temporary identity certificate, it's 70 rands.
There's something you said a bit earlier, that you've seen that there's less people coming in. That worries me a little bit. I mean, what does that tell you? There's all these IDs sitting there. A lot of people need the services of Home Affairs, and yes, you're seeing not too much uptake. I mean, I wonder if there's anything to read into that.
That's why we're here, Leanne, this morning, to encourage people that have documents at all our Home Affairs offices to go and collect them. So collect yours today. That's the real message that we're sending out.
Yeah, I mean, it is a very, very important story to tell during these elections, and that, of course, is the voter turnout. And if we're finding that a lot of people are just saying, well, you know, I couldn't be bothered, I'm not going to go and vote. I know my ID's sitting there, but that's, you know, that's something I'll worry about for another day. The reality is that, you know, voter apathy is something that I think a lot of political parties are worried about, the IEC worrying about. So, I mean, just to kind of sense the mood already with Home Affairs is quite interesting to see. And that, you know, this morning, the idea of coming on a lot earlier is to say, come on, guys, this is your democratic right. You have to go and vote.
Absolutely. We're hoping Morning Live and SAFM will join us in encouraging people to go to these offices and make sure that they exercise their right by getting these enabling documents so that they're able to vote. Interestingly, if you go to KZN on Saturday, we have deployed most of the senior management to go and monitor the offices throughout the country. The DDG who's deployed in KZN was saying that the Mgeni office was actually quite full. So it varies from one province to the other.
Yeah.
This is the worry, is that, I'm imagining what you're saying about voter apathy is like, oh, I've got to go to that Home Affairs office again. Will it be a pleasant experience? We know that it's always been very difficult to get there. The queues are always going to be very long. Will there be extra staff there today, or is it just going to be a regular occurrence? Maybe people have to go vote, Home Affairs officers, I'm sure.
So what we've done, we're not offering a full bouquet of all the services. We're only offering services that are aligned to today for election day, which is your application for your smart ID or collection or your temporary identity documents or any other query that might be IEC related. For example, a duplicate ID, which is what we often get around this particular time. So those are some of the things that we are resolving as well.
Staffing issues at Home Affairs. I mean, I know a lot of people are being quite concerned about, you know, so many people coming in, and yet staff seems to be not as at a level that it should be to try and meet the demand, although now we seem to be a little bit quieter. But on a normal day with Home Affairs, and I know that it was all COVID and a lot of issues related to that that were not ensuring that you were working at optimum capacity. How are things looking now? Are you fully staffed, back to normal?
Well, we're operating at 100% at all our offices, of course, within the protocols of COVID-19, ensuring safe distancing, ensuring that people sanitize when they come through to our offices. So we have about 3,200 staff that's working throughout this weekend. Staffing will never be adequate for any organization. You yourselves here, I don't think you'll say you've got enough people to help you in the background. But what we have, we believe it's capable to be able to assist Home Affairs to provide essential documents for South African voters.
I'm happy.
You happy?
Yeah. The one thing I am worried about is, you mentioned the duplicates, and I imagine maybe a card has been, maybe the barcode has been damaged from being in a wallet or being in a phone, or somebody thinks they have a piece of paper. I'm imagining you suggest go and vote as early as possible, so that if there is a problem, you can get to the Home Affairs office and get back.
I think we will always encourage people to be there much earlier, so that in case of any challenges, but we're open for business until quite late, 2100.
All right, well, it doesn't help because you've got voting stations closed.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, great interview, education interview in terms of people wanting to go out there and ensure that you do have your ID document. You can go and collect it today. If you need a temporary ID document, don't go at 5 to 9, as Tommy has told us. Try and make it in time that you'll be able to get it, but they are able to issue you one so that you can go out and vote in these elections. Tommy, thank you. Always a pleasure chatting to you.
Nice to chat to you and see you again.
Coming in nice and early this morning, bright and early, so you can't say that you missed it here on the program.